So lately, I've been thinking about the nature of ideas and the nature of true inspiration. And it made me think about history. Most breakthroughs in history happen not by rigid, perfect plans or perfect ideas. They seem to come from spontaneous, spontaneous ideas, flashes, just perfect moments, and spark of ideas in moments where it's needed the most. And that's where a lot of novel ideas birthed and a lot of great thinking and great uh, invention happened. And those ideas were not planned. That just tend to appear when the artist was ready or when the person was ready. And that tells us a lot about the nature of ideas. They tend to be fleeting. And on top of that, those ideas tend to be come just super fast um, out of nowhere, and they tend to leave just as fast. So the real question does not mean that we have to figure out where those ideas come from. The real question to me, which is a much more interesting question for me, is that those ideas will eventually come to us. So the question is, how can we maximize our creativity, our workload, and how can we capture those ideas when they come to us? Because those ideas are fragile and fleeting. So the real question is, how can we capture them when they do arrive to us? Because that's truly where great work is done and where novel ideas come to us. So let's talk more about it. All right, so let's get down more into the nature of ideas. I believe ideas tend to behave like energy. When they move, they create more movement. And when they're held too tightly, they stagnate and they prevent other ideas for flourishing and coming forward. This is a problem. We don't want that. We tend to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect time or the perfect plan or the perfect idea to come forward. But we're not helping ourselves. We think we're protecting those ideas or protecting or perfecting the idea. We're actually blocking it. And I really like what Rick Rubin says about this. He said, ideas tend to be like the river of flow and water coming flowing. When you don't release those ideas, you hoard them and they stagnate, they stop, right? Just like the river, when you hoard the river, water won't flow, right? That's not what you want to do. You want to let the river flow easily, right? So when you let yourself, when you act on yourself, on your ideas, and you act upon those inspirations, and you share with the world, it creates space for more ideas to come forward. So you should not hold them back. The real way to find better ideas, and the only way to know if those ideas work, is to share with the world and act on it. When you hold them back, it stagnates and it hold everything, all the process back. And that's not what you want to do. And for creativity to flourish, ideas need to be flowing, just like the river. Nothing holding back and everything just running smoothly. And you do that by sharing ideas, those ideas, and acting upon them. If you're anything like me, you probably felt this feeling before. You'll be working on a project or a problem that you need to solve, and you have this spark of idea come to you, or you think it may be a solution, and you tell yourself, I'll just come back to it later and, do this thing later because I think this is a great idea. I should probably do more of this, and only to come back and to not have the idea anymore, and the idea is gone, and that can be very frustrating. You may remember that you had two ideas, maybe, but you just don't remember where to go from there. You may remember that you had just one idea, but you don't remember the other idea. Or worse, you may only remember that you had a brilliant idea and nothing else. And that's not helpful. And the reason is, I think ideas tend to behave much different than just linear thinking. They tend to behave very much different than just logic of tracing things. So you cannot trace the idea back to with logic. You cannot trace back to the idea that you had in that moment with pure logic, and it seemed to be very different. And it comes to you very spontaneously. And the reason you also may not remember the idea is because you probably never had the idea enough time to create neural pathways to just come to that idea like you had it in the first time. And that is why capturing ideas right away is very important. And that may mean very different thing to you. It could be that you capture it by writing it down, or you capture it by executing as soon as possible, or you just simply do something. To go back to the analogy or the metaphor of the river, you have to move. You have to remove the blockage. You have to remove the blockage that's stopping the river to flow. So whatever friction that is in front of you that's stopping you from acting on that idea, remove it and simply just act on the idea and move. Because when you move, you create more space for other things to take place, for other great things to happen. So when you get stuck and when you think about those ideas and you choose to do it later or procrastinate on those ideas, remember this: do something, the littlest thing. It could be write something down or write exactly where you stopped from that idea. So when you come back, you at least have something to work on. We're often told that we need to lock ourselves in a room and put ourselves in an intense focus to find novel ideas and be creative, to have the perfect outline, the perfect scientific method approach. But approach seems to be often counterproductive when it comes to finding finding novel ideas and being creative, because sometimes ideas, the best ideas, when don't come to us when we're forcing it. They do come to us when they're not being hunted and forced to be captured. And think about like when you're in the shower. Many people report having great ideas come to them when they're in the shower. Isn't that strange? The shower is water maybe some magical thing? I don't, at least I don't think so. But I do think the shower is a place where we're solely focusing on showering, and thinking and finding ideas is not the primary thing. So our mind wander and get to this default state or this relaxed state that just start thinking about um, other ideas, and and that's where ideas find us. Ideas find us where we're relaxed, where we're not thinking about other things, where our mind is bored and our mind is in a relaxed state, and it's not thinking about any other primary thing than just being. You know, the more we're closer to boredom, the more we're closer to a relaxed default state where we get to find unexpected connections and form ideas together. And modern society has nearly erased the need to be bored, and nearly erased the need to be relaxed and act, at yourself. We fill every moment with noise. We fill every moment with scrolling and reacting to the algorithm. That the need to be bored and the need to be just ourselves is completely removed. So what we need to do is to allow ourselves to be more calm, more relaxed and bored at times. So you need to be bored. Sometimes a walk is more important than just scrolling and reacting to whatever that's thrown at you. We need to be calm and relaxed. Because when we engineer our minds to wonder, we become open to finding novel ideas. And when our mind is wondering, and wondering is where great ideas are sometimes created. You know, great ideas often come from unexpected sources, places we wouldn't think ideas would come from. Ideas come from literally anything, you know. Um, and I believe life is a teacher. Life can teach us a lot of things, and we have to open ourselves to those things, to the things that life wants to teach us. And for that, you need to be curious. You need to be open to life. You need to be observant. Because if you're not observant, you will miss out on other things. You miss out on what, life is teaching you. You miss out on certain insights. And when we open ourselves to that, we we get ideas, we get connections, some reforming philosophy of life. We form ideas, we form connections between two different things, right? Uh, and observing is a lot of things is has been done in even in science. Think about Newton. Um, by being observant and being open and curious and being having an open mindedness of figuring out things, he came up with the um, the theory um, of gravity and a lot more, in calculus and forming ideas and being curious to find things, not accepting the way things has always been done, and thinking that he can add something to this world, and that's curiosity, and that's openness, um, and we do need that. We do need that to to create ideas, to be creative. We have to be observant. We have to be open to life because that's where ideas find us. Flow is not passive inspiration. Flow is active participation. When you consistently put ideas into the world, new ones come back to you. New ones respond. I've lost count how many times I was not doing my work. I was not being creative. Only when I start acting, and only when I start doing the things that I said I was planned to do, is when more ideas came into my life. And that's not magic, it's just momentum. So, you know, creation creates clarity. And when you create, you have this clarity in mind and you have this momentum pushing you, wanting you to do more. And that's when ideas, come to you. And it's a snowball effect. The more you act, the more your brain, adapts to produce creative output, and you wire yourself for momentum. Inspiration exists, but it has to find you when you're working. It finds you when you're working. When you're working, you get more things done. You get more ideas. Ideas find you when you're working. So, not that we know that ideas are fleeting and inspiration can come and go at any time, we need to find a way to capture them. And for me, I do my best to use anything that's next to me or anything that I can grab on to capture that. One way I capture ideas is I use my phone, and whenever I'm in my car or anything, I just use my phone to record. I get to the notes taking app, and I just record my voice note. I do a voice note to myself, or I just record it to capture the thing I was thinking in that moment, and I come back to it as soon as possible to do the thing I needed to do, whether that was just writing or an idea a connection that I find between two things. just capture them. Another way is I have a bunch of sticky notes laying around. Just write them down. Like writing things down even makes it more clear to me. Uh, acting um, before clarity arrives. You just do things before you even know when that things are clear. So if you have an idea about whatever that is that you need to do, acting on it first creates more ideas, like we said. So, let's say you wanted to write an essay about, you know, the modern economy, something like that. You wanted to write about it. You do research. You get okay. So, what was the epiphany? What was the inspiration that you got in that moment? So you write it down and you go do it. You act, and that gives you clarity. That gives you feedback on the things that you need to research, right? So yeah, just finding little things that capture the moment and the inspiration as soon as possible. Otherwise, that would just you would forget. You would forget that you even had the idea. You would forget the inspiration you had. So you need to close the gap between the thinking and the action, because if you don't close the gap between the thinking and the action, you lose the spark that you had. So when you think about the idea and you have the inspiration, you write it down. Let's say you write it down, you remind yourself to do it later. Do it as soon as possible, because the more you wait, the less connection you have it. You can still work, but it wouldn't be the same as that freshly new idea. So close the gap between the thinking and the action, and that way that's how flow is done. That's just how high performers work, and I'm doing this video for me to be better at that, and for you guys to also, whoever is watching, I think it's helpful to, you know, be better at capturing these ideas and be more creative and be more having a bias towards action. And that's the point of this. And I hope it helps someone out there. And I truly think this is truly helpful for myself to bring this idea together and do this. Thanks for watching, and hope for more videos and videos like this, and subscribe and support the channel. Thank you.